Uh, Last slide here, and then we'll follow up with a question. I know we had Nate, and it's been a long day, but I do have. Actually, somebody sent this in, and I had never really thought about it. But when I was asking for stuff, they said, pit safety. So, uh, the obvious, you would think it'd be obvious, and it's not always. Slow down in the pits. I mean, I think that's one, and pit lights. I knew a guy who me and Cash both knows, Von Stone. He kind of built the pit lights because of a lot of tracks don't have lighting in the pits. Not only can you can see your car, but you can also have light to where drivers can see you. So that was something that pit lights were used for, not only to be working on your car, but to light up the area. And fire extinguishers, well, I'm not really versed on that, but that's something that I think we definitely need to, every car should have one. You should have one in your trailer at the back of your truck. A working fire extinguisher that's in date. I mean, I think, to me, you never know the guy beside you, something kind of fire, what's going to happen. So, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the lifts. I know that's a big one, and lucky enough to have Dirt Car Lift here with me. So he wants to do a little presentation, and we'll kind of wrap up any questions.
So on pit safety, which I found a guy right today that had this happen, adjust in timing. You don't need 5 guys leaning over an engine adjusting timing with the engine at 4,500 RPMs. One guy can see the timing light, and one guy can see the mark. The rest of them are there for nothing. And I don't know the guy, so I didn't get permission to post a picture, but his face is pretty well mangled from a blade coming apart and hitting him in the face and the neck, it sounded like. And yeah, and so there's that. Being aware of what you're doing when most people don't understand their race car, besides the driver. Don't be standing between the back of the race car trailer and the car when somebody's leaning in to start it. Next thing, it's running and driving over the top of you. Exactly what they said about the fire extinguisher for you and your neighbor. At the shop, the same deal. You got guys that don't know what's going on, and they lean in, hit the ignition, and you're supposed to bump it and not start it, and they got the key on, or the ignition on, and now it's running, and you're driving around in the shop with nobody in it. That's about all I can think of. Oh, aware of where the race cars are while you're racing, especially sprint cars, but just in general, the race is coming out of 4. You don't need to be watching in 1 because the wing nut at the back is the one that's going to crash and run over the top of you when you're standing at the flag stand on the infield. And that's not the place to be watching the races from. You have to pay attention to that. And then walking in the pits, be aware of where the cars are going, where they're going. All of a sudden, some guy comes in mad. He's turning left and going to his pit stall, and if you're walking past it, you'll be under his car before he gets stopped. That's pretty much all I can think of for pit stuff. Radiator caps. You make sure you're not pulling a radiator cap off. Usually if it's that hot, that cap coming off is not going to save a problem. You can cool a car down through the radiator, but you're pulling that cap is not going to do anything besides put somebody at Megan's ambulance. Jack stands. He's going to talk about the lifts, but if you don't have a lift, make sure you got jack stands and pressure on the jack stand. The jack stand under there, the odds of the car hitting the jack stand when it's falling is not very good. So that's what I would have with that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good pit overview for what we see at the pits and things like that. For those that do not know me, my name is Ricky. I'm a mechanical engineer. I work with Dirt Car Lift, work with Dean over there. And I got this little pit lift safety presentation. I didn't know about this till about 72 hours ago, so bear with me if there's anything wrong about that, but that's all right. So just a couple key points here. We're going to talk about what not to do, what to look for when you're purchasing a lift, and then just kind of input from our side of what we see. You know, we go to a lot of tracks. We get a lot of input from a lot of these drivers and things like that. So one thing, what not to do, okay? The first thing that you do not want to do is exceed the weight capacity of what the lifts are rated for, no matter what brand or manufacturer you're going with. Don't go lift up your wife's SUV to do a tire rotation and then go take that same thing to the track. It's not going to work out well for you. The other thing too is to try not to lift up anything on an uneven surface. That being said, I know the dirt tracks aren't always the most level and this grander thing that you may see at Indy, but even then, you still want to try to at least stay a little bit level with your lift, or at least put yourself in a position to where you're not going to be in a realm where something bad could happen. Try not to leave the vehicle unattended. He made a great point. A car may fall or something may happen. You don't want to just be out drinking a beer while your car's upside down and potentially catch on fire. Who knows? The other thing too, don't modify the lift. If something's wrong, if it's not fitting correctly, we'll talk more about that. Don't try to do it yourself, because there's probably a reason as to why that place is in there for a reason. It's there for a reason. Improper maintenance, maintenance of putting in the wrong oils, not checking your seals for your hydraulics. If it is a hydraulic lift, there are some others out there on the market that are not. Check for wear and tear on those critical components as well. So your bolts, if your bolts are bent, please get some new bolts. For us, we say about every 2 years is a good time for you to go ahead and do a bolt replacement kit. That's just to, even if your bolts look fine, even if everything's good, it's still it's like any tool. You want to make sure that whatever tool you're using is, up to par. The other thing too, don't use it with fluid leaks. If your lift's leaking, it's probably not lifting in the first place, but if it is, it's going to come down, okay? And finally, just trying to follow what the manufacturer says. There's a reason for what they've put on there. And try not to skip just those regular inspections, because it is an important thing to look out for. And just like I said, don't try to lift up anything too stupid. Don't lift up dump trucks. Don't lift up your 18-wheeler, and just things like that. Oh. This is a finicky mouse, isn't it? Oh, come on. All right, Brian, could you hit turn that monitor around, just hit the corner button, the arrow? Yeah. Thank you very much. He's going to be my point man. That's that. So speaking of dump trucks, this is me lifting up a dump truck. This is what happened when I did that. This was obviously for a prototyping thing, but you can see that is not viable or serviceable in any form of regard. And if you ever did see anything like that, try to call your manufacturer and say, hey, something's wrong, I did this. Don't lie about it. Just say what you did, so that we can get you back on the track. Next one, please. Brian.
I got 400 things going on.
I got you. Here's another one too. This guy actually was like, hey, is my lift wrong, or can I still use my lift? No, you cannot. We did end up fixing this lift, and at the track, it was serviceable, but you couldn't use it in the condition that it was in. And we get calls like this all the time, and I'm sure other manufacturers do as well. And this was, I think he was lifting up some different chassis or something. He said that he didn't do anything out of the norm, but who knows. And then next slide, please. Oh, and this is a video on just that together. So, oh, there's no audio. Anyway. Let's see. Try, let's see. Yeah. This is a rock, lifting it on the center point there, lifting it upside down and backwards. We're lifting it upside down and backwards there. What else here? Oh, this is just backwards in general. So you can see here in a second the card's shifting. That's no good. Upside down again. Had that happen a couple times. Yep, not good. That's what happened on the rear. bumping it up and down, just causing unnecessary pressure to the hydraulics. Not the greatest thing ever. And that's what finally bent it there. That's a non-serviceable lift, so we would have to fix that lift in some regard. Not the best of times, but we've seen it all, and you know, it's just a product of it. Just hit the next slide. You should be able to just hit. There you go. All right, so this is what you want to look for when purchasing. Back a little bit. Just. One more. All right, there we go. We're going to leave that right there. So you want to look for the low capacity. Make sure that your lift can actually lift up what you're trying to do. I mean, there's a big difference. Everybody here knows between a late model and a street stock. There's a big difference there. Ensure the lift can handle the specific car weight with a safety factor of at least 1.5. You just want to make sure the engineering behind it is up to par. Durability and build quality. Don't get a lift from, you know, two guys and a welder. It's just typically not the best idea. Look for powder-coated steel frames to resist corrosion in harsh environments. You want good materials to be used with that. I know Spencer was talking about, you know, different materials for chassis design. That also applies to lift design as well. You want your portability and adaptability, and make sure that it's compatible with the different types of racing that you're going to be doing, whether that's side-by-side, late models, modified, sprints, whatever. There's a configuration out there from any of those manufacturers for you. It's not, one size lift does not fit all, so just make sure that you guys are lifting up the right places. This is a manufacturer's input. Next one. Basically, just the physics behind it, you know, how the materials work, how they align, what's going to go into prolonging the life of your lift. Lifts are expensive, and a lot of these guys that are out here racing, you know, we're balling on a budget. We're weekend warriors, and so we don't want you to have anything wrong go bad or anything wrong happen, and you know, you spent X amount of money on your lift and something's bad happening. So just other physics that we use to try to figure out exactly what is going on in the design part of everything. Next slide. What goes into the design, you know, on our end, what we'll do is we'll CAD out the entire thing depending on your chassis, depending on what type of lift or lift brand you're going to be going with. We do motion studies to ensure the lift is okay. You know, we do a finite element analysis to, you know, what happens when a car is on an angle and is going to be in a high stress environment like that. Well, you got to figure out what's the stress points there. What are the places that our customers going to be buying from that are, you know, the things that they're going to have to reorder. Thermal analysis, so that's kind of niche, but basically for your motors or anything that's an actuator or a linear actuator or anything like that, you just want to make sure that there's no changes in temperature or anything like that will affect your lift. The biggest change in temperature that we see on our side is pressure. Most people leave their lifts inside their trailers, and what ends up happening on the hydraulic side is that there is going to be a pressure buildup and my damn fittings aren't working and, you know, that sort of thing. So we tried to come up with a good solution for that. It's nothing too major or anything that's going to compromise the safety factor of the lift, but it is just something to not beat your fittings. It's nothing to do with that, and we see a lot of drivers do that, and it's not a good thing to have. So don't beat your lift. There's probably a really small fix to make it work again. Next slide, please. This goes into, I know Spencer had talked about SolidWorks simulations and things like that. We do a lot of that in-house as well for our stuff, just to make sure that everything is, when we come out with a new product, and when we try to make the racer's life a little bit easier in the pits, that everything's tip-top. The video that you saw earlier of that lift there, the second one that we made of that, once we verified that everything was good, actually went to a little-known driver, may have heard of him, Chris Ferguson. And, well, he hasn't punched me in the nose yet, so I think that lift worked out pretty well for him. So, and I think that's pretty much it. We'll hit one more slide. Yeah, so questions. The biggest things that I would say are, when you're looking at whether it's a hydraulic or any different type of lift, just make sure that there's different safety things to look into. The rigidness of the hydraulic lines, if they're double shielded or not. Don't use like an air hose line if you're going to be, fixing or trying to tinker with your lift. Make sure that the pressure is withstandable on the lines themselves. Also make sure that everything is rated for what dirt track racers are going to be doing. Dirt track racers are very harsh in all of their products. I think everybody can attest to that here. That's just racing in general. So with that, you want to make sure that any modifications or anything that you're doing are applicable to that. Don't lift up any other different type of chassis brands. There's some that are very different than the other. Like I said before, not one size lift fits all, and there's a big safety factor there. We've had guys just do stupid stuff, and I had this lift, I switched over to, from modified over to late model. Now the whole thing moves up and down, and now the car has fallen off the lift. I can't get the car down from the lift, so I'm just going to cut the lines. Most of the time it's just an electrical issue or anything like that. So nothing too out of the ordinary. But lift safety for any brand or any manufacturer is definitely something to look into. Also the electrical side behind that. Most anybody's going to have an electrical component to their product. Just make sure that that product is having some sort of electrical safety configuration there, like a battery disconnect switch or something like that. Other than that, that's pretty much all I've got. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right.